we do Christmas-themed science experiments, such as these beautiful Christmas trees.
So I'm Jen, and this is Kerrie, and last week we tried to grow our own crystal Christmas tree, so we wanted to let you see how well it's coming along.
All right, so our experiment went really well, but if you notice, even though I followed the directions and used the thin cardboard, well, that cardboard got really, really wet and it collapsed. So you can see on this side where it grew crystals, and here I'm going to show it to our camera here. On this side where it grew crystals, much better, and then on the other sides, it's kind of yucky. So I actually did the experiment twice, and this time I added a whole lot more food coloring.
And she used a heavy corrugated cardboard instead of like a tag board that we use for this one. So if you do it at home, you probably maybe want to try it with a heavy corrugated cardboard, like you would get a cardboard box from Amazon or Walmart or somewhere like that. Everybody's getting packages delivered right now.
Yeah. So as you can see, we have grown a lot on our Christmas tree. Hopefully it will be covered by the end of December. And then if you look, all of these crystals grew really well in both of the experiments. So if you would go ahead and grab a little bit and see.
It just sort of crumbles because it's mostly salt.
It's almost like it's snowing.
And it's just kind of like the salt you put down on your sidewalk when it snows, exactly. Which is kind of how that works. It absorbs, the salt absorbs all the moisture and then allows it to eventually condense and evaporate. So,
all right, well, I hope your trees are going well, and if not, I hope you're enjoying our beautiful trees. All right, we're going to get rid of these and move on to our next experiment,
which is also sort of tree themed and perfect for Christmas because most Christmas trees are conifers. You might know them as pine trees, fir trees, and conifers carry their seeds in cones, pine cones, of course. So we've got a couple of pine cones here. Now you might have learned in science class that when it rains, pine cones close up. This one is very wet. Not only did Miss Kerrie pick it up in the rain, but we also soaked it in some water last night to make sure that it was really closed up. So you can see, I'll pass it over to her, just how tightly closed the scales on the pine cone are. The reason that they do that is to protect the seeds so that they don't start falling off before they're ready to go.
Here, let's see an open one.
I
want to see what it looks like.
Really open pine cone.
What? Look at how huge that is. Those big seeds.
Slightly different variety of tree, I think. And
you can see one of the ones that we picked up this week because the cone is starting to open.
It started to open.
But as you can see over here, it's all smooth from where it was closing. So when you do this experiment, I would suggest both trying to open it and trying to close it.
So we're letting these dry out right now. So when you come to pick up your next science kit, you will get a pine cone that should be all the way open and dry and ready to go and put into water just like this one. We're just adding a little bit of water. You can do different temperatures. This water's kind of lukewarm. Last night I used hot water. I heated up in the microwave for about 2 minutes. Make sure that you do have an adult to help you with that. And you have some good hot pads or oven mitts available to take that water out because it's almost boiling.
I want to see what this one looks like closed up.
Well, let's probably put it in a bigger bowl.
Oh, and then don't forget to measure it before and after because they will change sizes.
So these actually, this pine cone is probably about the same size as this one here. Yep, they're just a little bit different. So actually as it, when you put it in water, it will actually contract the scales, but it expands a little bit in size because it absorbs the water.
Wow, that's really cool.
So it gets tighter, but longer.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next science project. All right, so next we're going to learn about density. Can you explain density a little bit to us?
So density is the heaviness of either a solid, a liquid, or a gas. In this case, we are dealing with liquid and some solid.
So we're going to use candy for this experiment, which makes it pretty much the best experiment ever, right? All right. So what you'll need is some warm water, sugar, optional, or candy, and of course a couple different dishes, and food coloring if you choose to use food coloring. If not, you can use different colored candy. Since all of our candy is red and white, I used food coloring. So this is also an edible experiment. So for this, I'm going to take these peppermints and I'm going to just dissolve them in warm water and try not to.
And the reason they dissolve is that sugar is actually much denser than the water.
Here you can
It's
see.
not just heaviness, it's that the molecules that make up sugar are tighter, a little bit tighter together than the water.
And then I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit there.
Mix it all up.
Yep.
It does make it smell like peppermint in here too when it
Yes, it
dissolves.
Well, since it needs to be fully cooled, I might try to add a little bit of sugar, and we'll just wait a moment or two while it cools. So I want to be extra sure that this works beautifully.
Now peppermints also have, especially this type has a little bit of oil in them, peppermint oil, to help flavor it. And the oil actually is, will sit on top of water, if you've ever done that experiment where you see the different densities of oil and water. Because oil isn't as dense as water.
Well, that turned a really interesting shade of orange. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll let that dissolve for a minute. All right. So what happens is sugar packs together when you have more sugar in the water. So all those molecules kind of stack on top of one another and then they cluster together. So we're going to see that, hopefully, if our science experiment goes as planned, by putting the water in the cup. Okay, so at this point we've waited about 5 minutes and this is mostly dissolved. There are still a couple little red pieces in this one, and I noticed whenever I was doing this before that I also had a few red chunks that's held on a little bit longer from the other one. So for the purple, I added 1 peppermint, green I added 2, red, or kind of pinkish actually, I added 3 peppermints and 3 teaspoons of sugar for each of these because I wanted them to look really cool. And then for this, of course, you saw 4 peppermints and 4 teaspoons of sugar. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take some of this liquid and pour it in here. And then we're going to see if we can pour one on top of the other and get the colors to stay separate.
All right.
So since this is the bottom one, I'm going to pour this one in like so. But for the rest, I'm going to take my good long time with this pipette. And you're just going to go against the side of this and see if the color stays separate. Now if you've got a syringe at home, that'll also work, or you can just try using a teaspoon.
Or just an eyedropper or 2. So yeah, actually, I can see the separation between the orange, yellow, and the red.
All right. I'm gonna move this out of the way so I'm sure that
Because
you can see
it was yellow food coloring, but because we added candy that had red dye in it, it turned it a little bit orange.
This works really well with sweet candies, but not with chocolate. So if you're wanting
don't
to
use
try this
chocolate.
at home,
You'll just have a muddy looking mess.
it'll
There
be
won't
fine.
any color separation there. It'll just be brown.
Okay, so at this point, I've poured in 2 different colors, and then you can sort of see some of the separation already where it's more red looking at the top than it is at the bottom. So I'm gonna try the next color and see if I can get this to work. Okay, it does look like it's staying on the top. Some of it is going down a little bit and mixing.
Oh, I can see from here. It's mostly staying on the top. You will notice a little bit of it kind of dissolves into the other color, but
Probably didn't help that orange and red are very,
Very
similar colors. But this might end up looking a lot more black while it mixes.
you can definitely see the separation there. And remember, that's because we started out with 4 peppermints and 4 teaspoons of sugar in the orange yellow, and then we went down a peppermint and a teaspoon
Yes.
each time. So then we went from 3 for the red and 2 for the green.
Wow, you can really see this sitting on top of one another.
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to turn brown. But
Well,
that won't
that's
stop
the
me from
color
drinking
mixture.
it.
oh,
I can
wow,
still
you
see.
can definitely see the color separation. It's actually the green and the murkier brownish color is floating on top of the red color.
Alright, so I'm gonna move on to purple now.
And remember, the purple only has 1 peppermint and 1 teaspoon of sugar in it.
So we might not see it very well because it's gonna be so similar to that brown though. Okay, so what we learned is that makes a lot of really cool brown liquid when you look at it through a camera, or black through a camera. But if you look at it up close, especially with a light, which my friend here will provide, the colors didn't mix entirely. Maybe this is more exploding Halloween. But let's see. And then for this one, I just put in orange and on the bottom and purple on the top. Here we go.
See it light shining through it there?
Yeah, a little bit. And for this one, when I look at this closely, I am able to see purple across the top and orange across the bottom.
And remember, that's because with the density of the sugar is a little bit more than the density of the water. And the density is the number of particles in the volume. So there are more particles of sugar in the glass than there are sugars in the water. Or, I'm sorry, particles in the water. Water molecules.
All right.
H2O.
So now that we've tried our experiment, it is up to you to try it at home and determine whether or not this is a success or fail.
Oh boy. Stand 6 feet away. Ugh.
Either way, it's very tasty.
If you like peppermint.
All right, and definitely if you don't like peppermint, use a different kind of candy. Next, we're going to be working with electrical circuits. All right, so what you're going to need for this is some lights, which we actually have an old string of lights. And I'm going to cut up some parts for you guys to use. And then we are also going to be making a really cool ornament. So here we are. I'll show this to you.
Make your own
Rudolph.
that you power by yourself. Woo.
You can turn them off or turn them back on. All right, we're gonna add eyes to him, don't worry. He's a little bit sad right now. So first off, let's go ahead and explain what a circuit is. An electrical circuit is a current that starts at a power source like a battery, and that provides voltage that goes through the wiring and ends at things like lights and then continues on and has to come back to the power source.
So it's the path that the electricity follows, like a bolt of lightning.
Yep. So you can make a circuit that's a triangle with two lights. You can make one that goes directly from the bulb to the battery. Oh, here, let's make sure we get the right sides on there. Ooh. I think I may have shorted my bulb.
Uh-oh.
Been
So
too
a
many
short
times.
happens when there's some kind of interruption in the electrical circuit.
Oh, no, it's that battery. The battery.
Oh no,
died.
that's the dead battery.
Here we go.
There we go.
So here you can see you can make light in the palm of your hands. I wouldn't suggest doing that too much. So what we'll do for this one is we'll connect the light to a piece of foil, or and then the foil on the other side to the battery. And so what
Foil is of course made of aluminum, which is a metal, and that conducts electricity.
Yes. And then we'll also include in your kit some copper wire so you can play with that too. And it's got a sticky back, and you can make things like cool little cards with those. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do that.
Copper's
And look at that, it lights up.
It was lighting up, I saw
Oh,
it.
sorry, I moved. I moved it off of the.
Now when you have your bulb, the two tiny wires that you see that go into the light itself are called filaments.
Mhm.
And you have a positive filament and a negative filament. Which one was the longer one again, Kerrie?
The longer one is going to be the positive side, always. And that does matter because if you notice on the battery, there's a positive current and then there's a negative current. That's why they put a plus and minus. You have to match up the longer end of the stem, if you will, from the battery, or from the bulb to the positive side. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to take these, if you have them at home, apart. So what you're going to need is some clippers,
Wire cutters.
like these wire cutters, and you're going to strip the plastic off of it so you can expose the wire.
So you definitely want some grown-up help for this.
Yeah.
Wire cutters are not super duper sharp, but you might take off the end of your finger.
But you do, you might want your fingers for your science experiments.
And so, unwrap your Christmas presents.
So, you want to make sure that you expose the little wires all together on the ends and then just pinch them together. What you should be able to do is put them on either side of the battery, and actually if you look, it is lighting up.
It is a little bit. That battery
So I need
kind of dead.
a battery with more current. So at home, you should see if you have a couple of different kinds of batteries.
They were supposed to be
that
good
you
till
can do
12
this with.
of 29.
Well, this does have a little bit more to power up. You can see this actually powers it up too. All right. So another thing that you can do is take the bulbs off of here entirely, and that's what we're going to do for our craft. So it might take some wiggling. All you have to do is wiggle it back and forth, and you can see the bulb comes apart, and it's got a stem on it. And coming out of the end of the stem are those wires. So we need to straighten those without breaking them.
Oh boy.
They're very thin.
This is why when grown-ups are decorating the Christmas tree, sometimes you hear them grumble.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when one of those lights go out. Sometimes they're not very easy to change.
Oh, I grabbed the dead battery again, didn't I? All right, so
The dead
here
battery
we go.
needs to be buried. There we go. And you can see
Lights up again.
it's glowing red.
All right, so we're going to use this to make our ornament. So first things first, what I thought was the easiest thing to do was to go ahead and get our pipe cleaner and put it through the top. That way your pieces don't run away from you. All right, and these are of course going to be Rudolph's antlers. And then we'll just give it a good twist, and then later on you can go ahead and shape them if you want. That's how I shaped mine. I just crimped it.
That's exactly how I did mine this morning too.
Yeah, it'll look lovely. All right, so here we go. We got some antlers. So that way all your pieces are together. We're gonna open this up and I'm gonna take some foil and I'm gonna connect it to this side.
Now when you get your ornament, there will actually be a tiny hole drilled in it that you can put the bulb through.
Yes, but I didn't do that this time. So what we're gonna do is tape this down, and I'm actually going to tape part of the bulb down too. So I'm just curling it over the side, stretching out these tines as far as I can go, and voila. So the funny thing about this is I gotta double check where it ends up because I can't have the foil touching. So I'm gonna put the other piece down here.
If you have that happen, we'll have a power surge.
Mm-hmm. Then it just wouldn't work. All right, here we go. All right, so match these up, and that, if you can see, doesn't touch over here. Now, with the one with the hole drilled into it, you're gonna have a much easier time because you won't have the pieces touch because you can put the tines on the inside. The whole point of making it this way is so you could turn the bulb on and off or replace the battery much easier. Okay, so here we go.
There he is, all put together.
All right, and then we gotta add the battery. Okay, so we're gonna put this through onto this side and tape it down. And put this through. Gotta be real ginger with this stuff.
So when you get your kids at home, if you want to try different kinds of batteries to see if it makes the light brighter, you could sure do that. Because a higher voltage will make your Christmas bulb glow a little bit brighter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't recommend like sticking it into an electrical outlet though.
No, please don't.
Don't do that, no.
That's a bad idea. All right, so I gotta make sure I don't have this connecting that way. All right, let me just double check that this works. Oh, gotta go the other direction. There we go. All right.
It's glowing.
So I'm gonna go ahead and tape down our battery, or if you have hot glue, I would suggest using hot glue. All right. Oh, I already used my bigger pieces of tape. That's silly of me. All right, so that way, when you leave it, you still have a good connection being made between your piece of foil and your light.
Now make sure if you're doing this at home that you keep all these small pieces away from little brothers and sisters and your pets. You don't want anybody to eat a battery. I had a dog once that swallowed a battery. Yeah, I had to stay up with her all night. She was fine, but she swallowed all kinds of things. A needle, a sewing needle.
Okay, here we go.
An earring.
All right. I am just afraid.
Oh, there. It's glowing. I see that nose so bright.
Yay! Okay.
There it is.
And for this, I would definitely suggest hot gluing it because that would make this glow a lot more consistently.
Of course, we need
But
to
you
give Rudolph
can,
some eyes, so
with some
that
experimenting,
glowing nose can tell him where he's going.
so you can see. All right, here we go. There's an eyeball there.
And the fun thing about this is you can replace that battery if it goes out, and you can use this year after year to hang on your Christmas tree.
Yep.
Or give this as a gift to someone.
We'll provide some string in your kit as well so you can hang this guy up. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, yay!
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
All right, and I'm gonna bring him closer so you guys can see him really well.
It's gonna fly to you.
And here we go. There we have our Rudolph. Ta-da! This is no so bright. Well, we hope you enjoyed our experiments today and have fun experimenting at home.
Yes, and don't forget to join us next Tuesday at 9 or anytime thereafter. And don't forget to register so that you make sure that you get your kit to take home full of all the experiments. We will see you next time.
Bye.